cross-party, has been cross-party ever since they first came to speak to us, the Jerwood Foundation, and what a pleasure it is to see all the work going on in the Old Town. Started more than 13 days ago, I think. And I'm grateful for Councillor Birch for his comments about the fact that we asked him if he would chair the Cultural Strategy Regeneration Group, and I'm glad he took it on. He clearly has experience and knowledge in that department, and I just hope that one or other of us on this side or more will be permitted to take part as well. And I quite agree with what he had to say about culture and arts being available to everybody, from within Hastings and without, but to everybody of every single creed, race, colour, social class, if you believe in that sort of thing these days, income class or whatever. There's never been any suggestion, of course, since Jerwood started here that it wouldn't be. I know some people have tried to pretend it's all about elitists coming down from London to look at pretty pictures, but it was never about that. Never, ever, ever about that. It was always about making things better for Hastings in general. I still believe it will. This is one where we will be supporting Councillor Birch and the opposition parties. Last Tuesday, or Tuesday of this week, we had cause at the other council, County Council, to talk about the current financial situation that we find ourselves in. The country, that is. We are in pretty dire circumstances. We've been in the deepest recession in living memory. We went in earlier than just about everybody else. We crawled out later than everybody else. Everyone else is in better condition now than this country is. There were comments, well, Greece, we're close. So we are crawling out of the financial black hole, and Councillor Birch spoke about possible cuts here. I think there are bound to be, there will have to be, they will be painful, and they need to be very carefully managed. He commented the other day on one or two of his comments about the coalition government, which is a very interesting experiment, which I'm sure we will all be watching very closely and with great interest, and I'm sure that 15 of us in this room will be hoping that it works. He commented today the irony of the Liberal Democrats who campaigned against immediate work to reduce the deficit now having to help implement them. Anyone is entitled to see the light. Councillor Birch's comment the other day was the irony of seeing David Laws holding George Osborne's axe. He'll forgive me if I repeat exactly what I said the other time. Yes, he is. And the blade of that axe was forged in Gordon Brown's furnace. Yeah. Please remember, at all times, Gordon Brown was prudent for 2 years because he'd agreed to stick to the last Conservative government spending plans. Then he went wild and he spent in the good times as well as the bad instead of saving. So when the bad came along, the cupboard was bare, and it is still pretty bare. So when the axe falls and where it falls, people need to remember who started the axe swinging. There's no question about it. Remember who started the axe swinging. Now, following on what I said about vision earlier from Councillor Birch, I was absolutely fascinated with what he said about having a planning, excuse the word, but so that people can get together and talk about planning. Brilliant idea. Absolutely, thoroughly agree with it. Planning has been awful for people in the last few years because of the endless regulations that have piled on top of regulation, on top of regulation, on top of regulation from our regulation-happy government of the last 13 years. I emailed Eric Pickles this morning, the new Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, because he put something on Facebook saying, having a meeting today to start getting rid of HIPs, which nobody wants, nobody needs, and are useless. I emailed him and said, well done, Eric. When are you going to start to clean up our crazy planning system? Because it's one of the policies of the Conservative Party to start moving planning down to local communities. And then Councillor Birch's meetings, brilliant, excellent. Because local people will be able to say the sort of things they want, not have to listen to planning officers, and I don't blame the planning officers. They're absolutely tied up in red tape. They have to say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you've got to do this, oh no, we've got to have 700 months of consultation and such like, and oh, councillors, you may be elected, but you can't think your own thoughts for 30 seconds. That's going to change. It's going to come down to a local level where we can decide what we need. We decide how many houses we need. We need houses. I'm not arguing against that. We need houses. But we can decide where they go, what sort of houses they are, and what sort of places they can take, and the mix. And finally, I was stunned, actually, by something Councillor Birch said, because I've always considered him, whether you agree with him or not, a strong leader of his party when he ran this council before, of this council, and as an opposition leader. He was very strong. And he suddenly said, I don't want to say what should be cut. If I said that in the last 4 years, he'd have been on his feet. You are lacking leadership. He followed this up by councillors are responsible. We're responsible for what happens, but I don't want to take responsibility. Absolutely. I don't want to decide. Can we have some mind making up, please, here? Exactly. So, I'll just sum up. There are things here you want to do that are good, and practically all of them are things that we've already started. You get our support on that. There are one or two things we don't like. We'll say so. We're in the advantage now that we weren't in before 4 years ago, that we now have 4 years' experience of being on that side of the room. We're watching you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pragnell. Can I just remind anybody else who wishes to speak that they may, of course, do so if they indicate, and that everybody else is limited to 5 minutes. Thank you.